Voices echo across thoroughfares, in lilting sing-song dialects of time and place. Merging on bus lanes, there are no entry restrictions, no signs of no stopping on double yellow lines, for nothing will halt their perpetual chatter. They are free to air, in sharing decades of experience through urban growth and industrial decay, perpetuating the importance of finding new ways in putting this town back on the map. Beneath these streets of hollow tarmac and compacted roadstone run labyrinths of cattle-driven tunnels and herded-in air raid shelters of protection. They tell of hidden stories now left to memory, whispered by those who have gone before us, asking where the next phase will take us, from briar rose roots and humble beginnings to newfound wealth and economic growth. On these streets, ask about times past and the stories will flow, from misty-eyed myths to stretched-out truths and actual fact. Along these streets, they say, down at the whimsy sentences were justified over real ale pints, and they had it coming conclusions, giving the guilty time to repent by marking out time relative to crime. Further on the narrow way, we meet in the open arms of Mary and Michael, giving sanctuary from noise, offering final resting places to sleeping giants and those in wartime repose. Nearby along these streets, a hero's memorial faces high-rise Derry Street progress, sharing peace for some time in traffic light queues, where interchange routes reclaim marsh park distractions and industrial spoil is made an attraction not far from the demolished mouth of the Nile. Along these streets and over Baxter's sheds and bloody pathways, retailers sold skin purses made from sows' ears, and bristle-brush scrubbers kept thresholds clean for hard-wearing rugs to strike against cold. Along these streets you could go snapping on Mrs. Hill's pick-your-own Arga pork and crackling, and the fresh meats would run, releasing diamond-cut squeals towards vet-approved rights and conditions, shattering the sounds of trundling cartwheels, punctuating beating shoe and hoof, serving up black pudding and black country pies to fill up the belly not as big as the eyes, and all that was left, fastened down cuffs with horn-like cut-out trotters' buttons. Along these streets, fresh from GWR's hammered steel rails, wooden crate box trucks offloaded silicates ready for furnaces charged with lead, Stevens and Williams and Royal Brierley fed, fired up on coal and anthracite chips, pretty glass for the mantle, all lined up in a row. Along these streets and up the yards, calming pig stalls looked up, to where bathers nipped and dipped from corporate changing rooms to pools of leisure, wallowing in shadows cast by chimneys shaped like pop bottles and slender red brick pointers to pollution, their sundial fingers marking shift patterns for hobnail cobbles to rattle towards home, and all the way back again, timed by Ravelli knocker-uppers staffs and early-to-bed igniters of duty-bound lamplighters as clacks and clocks wail over daytime rituals and Jones Brothers all-weather clock click silently. Along these streets an Institute of Art and Science tiled by Gibbons is decoratively embossed with fire clay ceramics, all the way up to the vibrating hallowed hollows of chambered footfalls, crossing to the bank of ills and wills accounting for prosperity, and a post office turned cafe that still makes its mark, still stamping out friendship and identity, that was next to the police station that was regrettably pulled down, where tram stops are named after knotted rope swirls and community hubs are held within Harry's walls, where loneliness is banished for the time that you're there, and new skills are learned and opportunities gained to diesel rattle engines and slamming car doors, catching words passing by in flurries of hurries from shoppers on missions with deadlines to meet, where each side of the road had refreshment fountains for men and women to imbibe in safe distance kisses. Along these streets, past marketer and finials, hear barkers' calls to buy from the best. Listen out for lifetime soundtracks captured in wax as styli needle or analogue grooves. On these streets within streets, independent sales are chalked up. You want the usual, love? Half a cake scratchings and a box of busted biscuits. Off to the calf breakfast by stage. Thanks for keeping music alive and bric-a-brac memories on stalls of times past. We had one of them in the old house a day off last. Weaving the fabric from a market long ago that leads to educating library services, leafing through pages between covers where fact meets fiction. And on these streets civic pride would meet black country nights out at the place where the lime tree stood, staging dialect poetry, comedy and good old songs, pervading our culture and carrying on tradition before it's off to the Danilo, the pulse of the town, where walls still echo with performers of repute, showing films that drew crowds at the queue here signs, who gazed in awe towards red sparks at night, where outfall smog laid down washing day grit. Round Oak's production, drawing economic wealth, its steel for the world put food on tables by lining up beer carriers, fetching furnacemen pints. Along these streets they ferried blue brick beer poured to wet dried out wazins, dampening all those dust-dry clacks, putting sweat back in with treacle and bitter, carried on head trays and arm-balanced jugs. Brew delivered to order and a bonus in case. For these streets it's all gone and now forging is silent, remembered fondly in a backdrop photo for artistic synth. Waterfront prosperity masks those manufactured hearts. New industries of retail, commerce and leisure bring home demands of modern life's pleasures. Along these streets history laid foundations, gave pride to a town built on a hill. The future needs planning, make of that what you will. For the love of a town, its people and their ways, change is inevitable in these ever-changing days. Along these streets that still echo the past, a steel briar rose sways in the winds. A future needs shaping by each generation's natural resolve to look after it all and ensure that it lasts, by simply taking charge and calling Brierley Hill their own. Voices echo across thoroughfares. In